Vince Davis. We're back. Let's take our first call tonight. Let's go to Sandy in Santa Monica. Sandy, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Well, I have a question to ask. My grandson was placed with his biological father, and it seems like now all of a sudden DCFS has dropped contact with me regarding my weekly 3-hour unsupervised visit. And the dad has, well, of course, during coronavirus, I understand there's a lockdown, so I'm not trying to visit right now. But before the outbreak, he was kind of reluctant about the visitation and reminding me that it was up to him and he didn't have to and all this. And anyways, it seems like there's no longer an order in place, and I've been visiting my grandson every week for 3 hours for since last May last year. So my question is, would I be bringing this matter up if I'm to fight for my grandparent rights? Would I be bringing this matter up in family law court, or do I have to bring it up in children's court?
Well, that's a good question. Is the children's court case still going on?
Yeah, I guess it will be for like the next 6 months while he's, being monitored.
Right. Well, then what you have to do is probably email. I would say call, but I prefer email the social workers and demand that you still have your 3-hour visit. And even during COVID, you can, your visitation should be at least on the phone, if not by some type of, Zoom or Skype kind of call or.
Yeah, he's only 2. I've been trying to call him on the phone, but it doesn't work so great.
Right.
My question is, they are not responding when I call.
Mm-hmm.
I've made, left like 3 or 4 messages regarding the issue.
Well, you can do something to make them call you, and that is you can file what's called a de facto status motion, or you can file.
I did that. I've actually done it twice, and I guess my timing wasn't that great either time.
Was it granted?
The first time the judge dismissed it as too early,
mm-hmm.
and the second time they were already granting the father his custody. So,
well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. All right, did you do the de facto motion by yourself, or did you have an attorney?
Yeah, I did both times.
That's like the doctor telling you need open heart surgery, and you try to do it yourself, right?
I see. Yeah, I tried, unfortunately, my limited resources prevent me from moving forward with legal representative right now. So I've just been doing anything that I can to get some kind of say in court or have a word in with the judge at all.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
So far, I've just been completely silenced.
Right. It's not going to work for you because you're not a party to the case. You may be the grandmother, but you're not a party. And in order for the judge to hear you, you have to have some type of what they call standing, where the judge has to listen to the evidence that you want to present.
Well, since I did have those rights before, do you think they can be somehow brought back up in court?
Yes, I do.
Some sort of motion?
I do, but you're going to have to make the right type of motion. You have to use the right type of evidence. And if somebody's arguing against you, like the father and his attorney, you're going to have to know what legal arguments to make so that the judge can grant it. I'm glad we're talking about this because a lot of people think that the judge will just do what they think is fair, what that person thinks is fair. And that's not true. Judges make decisions based upon law and facts, not what's fair in your mind. Because what's fair to you might be, not fair to the father. So you're going to have to rely on the law and the evidence, admissible evidence that's competent and relevant. So, I was talking to someone the other day, and they told me it was a father. He says, "This is what I want you to argue." And I said, "Well, Why do you want me to argue that? Because I believe, this is his response, I believe that the judge will rule in my favor. And I had to say this very nicely. I said, look, you don't know the law. You don't know the law on evidence. You don't know the law on procedure. How could you develop that argument? And I said, by the way, that's not a very good argument and not a very good strategy. But he was insistent on that's the way to go. And I said, that's no problem. I said, when it doesn't work, or if it doesn't work, it's got about a 90% chance of failure. I said, don't blame me, because I told you this is not the way to go. Right? So people just think they know that the judge will do, quote unquote, what's right in the case.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is what you think is right is different from what other people think is right. And that's why we have the law, and that's why we have the code of evidence, so that the judge can decide based upon what society has said is right, not what you think is right. So that's why that's the problem with doing your own de facto status motion. First of all, you might not have prepared it correctly, but the 50% of the motion is won inside the courtroom. And I bet, you didn't know the arguments to make when your hearing came up for de facto standing.
Oh, my hearing never even came up. It was just dismissed. And then the second one, I got a notice in the mail that, that he was granted, his custody was granted to his father, which I already knew about. But
this is what I'm trying to tell you. The father getting custody has nothing to do with your de facto motion. And if they told you that, you should have appealed it or argued it. But they didn't even give you a hearing. And one of the reasons why they probably didn't give you a hearing is because you didn't have an attorney.
I guess.
So
yeah, I'm learning as I go.
So, Sandy, if this is really important to you, go talk to an attorney. You know what I want you to do on Monday? I want you to call my office, and I want you to ask to speak to a woman named Jackie. And she's gonna tell you whether we can help you or not. The number to call is 888-888-6582. 888-888-6582. Call her. I think she gets in after 8. Well, the office is closed, but everyone's working from home. She starts taking her calls, after 8 or 8:30. So call her, tell her your situation, tell her you talked to me on Saturday on the radio show, and see if we can do anything for you. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm very grateful.
All right. Thank you for your
calling.
Time.
All right. You have a good evening.
Keep listening. Do we have enough time for another call? Okay. Let's take Laurel from, is it Rio Vista?
Yes.
Hi, Laurel. Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I had a question. I have a case in Solano County with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I have recently been diagnosed with 4-stage breast cancer, and they won't let my boyfriend and I see our daughter, and they wanted to terminate our parental rights, and we never did anything to even put her in harm's way. We were just homeless when I had her, and they took her on the basis that we were homeless.
Well, that's not a basis in California to lose your child. The reason is because California is supposed to offer you, or the social worker is supposed to offer you resources where you can have the child, at some type of public assisted housing.
Correct. They said that they did a referral for us to the housing department in Vacaville, but they never did, and I had the emails showing that they never did.
Then you and your attorney should be arguing lack of family reunification services being offered to you, and that way, they're going to have a very difficult time terminating your parental rights. But if they've already terminated your family reunification services, the battle is going to be uphill. So you're going to have to file a 388 petition, talk to your attorney, and get that filed where you can ask for more reunification services and or return of the child and or more liberalized visits.
Yes.
Is your child with relatives?
They won't work for us.
Is your child with relatives?
She's with my son's aunt that is not talking to us, and they already call her a different name. than what we've named her, and the social worker is okay with it.
Were they calling her mom or something?
No, they're calling my daughter Sophia, and her name is Angelina.
Oh, I see. They've changed her name.
Yeah.
And they haven't terminated. They haven't terminated.
Once a month, and she looks at us like we're crazy, and then gives the report to the judge, going, "Well, they love their child, but she's not connecting with her parents."
Yeah, you're getting set up to lose your child through an adoption to this person.
Right.
Have you talked to your lawyer about a strategy to stop that?
Yes, and they said there's nothing that they can do.
Oh, there's a lot that can be done.
I've asked for 388 to be filed. I've asked for, because my boyfriend and I have done a lot of research and everything, and just found out just so many ways that we were railroaded when they took our daughter at 3 days old. And it's been a year now, and now they're trying to keep her, and I have cancer, and they won't even let me see her.
Well, I would put these requests to your attorney in writing through email. There's a lot that you can do. If you want, call me on Monday, and I'll tell you what, maybe we can help you, do something. Because if you don't do anything, you're definitely going to lose your child to an adoption.
Right, and I've kept all my contacts strictly email and text messages, so I have documentation of everything and all the conversations.
Okay.
And we've never done anything to put our child in harm's way. We were just homeless.
Call me Monday, 888-888-6582. Laurel, I want to thank you for calling and listening. I got to go to our second break of the evening. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Keep listening. We'll be taking more calls after the commercial break. Okay, this is Vince Davis. We're back. The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Let's take our next call. Sarah from Sherman Oaks. Sarah, did you have Did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I have a quick story to tell.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm a single parent of 9-year-old twin boys, whom I've raised from the beginning by myself. And when we were on a Christmas vacation in New York City this year, on New Year's Eve at midnight, somebody called in an anonymous call stating that I neglect my children and leave them home alone 8 to 9 hours was the statement.
Well, they called a L.A. County social worker and said that, or they called a New York social worker?
L.A.
But you were in New York, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, I did not get back into town until the 5th of January.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of days later, I'm home and I get a knock on the door, and a man and a woman stating that they were from Child Services, and I just couldn't believe it. I said, okay, and how can I help you? And they said, well, somebody's called in stating that you left. Their initial story was that I had left my children home alone on New Year's Eve and went out. I said, well, that's ludicrous. I was in New York City with my children, and I can show you several photos and videos and plane tickets, whatever you need. That's crazy. So anyhow, she said, oh, yeah, that happens a lot, these anonymous calls. Do you mind we come in and search your home, or if now is not a good time, we can reschedule. And I said, to be honest with you, and again, I did not know my rights. I've never dealt with this before. I did not know at the time. I could have refused. And it's not that I did refuse. She gave me an option to reschedule. And I said, well, let's go ahead and reschedule so I can wrap my head around this and be awake. I just traveled with 2 kids and a dog, and I need to figure out what's going on here. So we scheduled for the upcoming Friday. And on Fridays, I work from home. I'm a personal trainer here in Los Angeles. I run my own brand, so I'm my own boss. I'm very busy. So that Friday, she called me an hour prior to our meeting. I was told she had to come here, and she asked, could I come to her? And so I said, well, not really. I'm confused as to why I need to come to you. I thought the whole point was to come to my house and investigate my home. And at that moment, her supervisor chimed in on the call and started screaming at me and asking why I was being uncooperative. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, what's your name?" And she kept yelling her name, and I could not understand her. And I said, "Listen, I'm just trying to figure out who I'm talking to." And she said, "Listen, lady," and was really rude to me. "We need to investigate or interview you, and you're not being cooperative." I said, "Listen, you want me to come down there, but I'm not going to be able to make it down there in time. And I need to know, all I'm asking is why, as I have a right." I knew at least I had a right to ask why, And she said, "Well, we don't want to come to you because we've looked you up and we're scared of you." I said, "You're scared of me because I'm a martial artist?" Okay. So that day was not going to work because I literally was not going to be able to go down there and pick up my children on time. So we rescheduled for the following Friday. I go down there and had a meeting with a woman named Lauren, and she basically read the statement to me, the initial call-in, and the initial call-in had actually nothing to do with me leaving my children home alone on New Year's Eve, which she said to me to my face. The caller called in and said that I leave my children home 8 to 9 hours, and they've been locked out of my home several times. Well, none of that is true, as my children are in an after-school program. They're also in a traveling basketball team, so they're in sports every single night. And, being locked out is impossible. Their coach actually drops them off in the evening, and they buzz in, and I let them in. And my sons have a key to the house, and I'm literally there 5 minutes later, if not pulling in at the same time.
Well, Sarah, let me ask you this. Did the social worker start a case against you?
Apparently, yes. There was a case against me. That's what they were trying to decide.
Did you go to Monterey Park at all to see a judge?
Well, I did ask her, but at this initial meeting, she said, "You know what? I think you're awesome. I looked you up." She said, "I should have this dropped by Friday."
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm sorry, by Monday. This was a Friday.
Right.
I should have this dropped by Monday. Should be no big deal. But, would you take a drug test? And I said, "Well, why would I need to take a drug test?" "Well, we've looked up your history and you got a DUI when you were 20. And I said, "Well, I'm 36 now." And I said, "I don't understand why I need to do that." She said, "Well, that's just kind of protocol," which, as I've heard your stories, is not the case.
Right. So you heard the first part of the show where I said, when a social worker tells you that, you do not have to take a drug test. But go ahead.
Right. And I wish I had known that. I was just trying to get this thing done with and be, it was ludicrous. So that following Monday, I said, "Listen, if I really need to take one to get this off me or whatever's going on, I'll do it. But you just let me know." I never heard from the lady again. And about 2 weeks later, I actually called in to see what was going on. And she said that she still needs to close some things. They're still investigating. I said, "I'm confused. You said that it would be closed." She said, "Well, we're still investigating." And we hung up the phone. Next thing I know, I'm in children's court.
Wow.
I go to children's court. The attorney there who was assigned to me stated that I should never be there. And I said, "Well, yeah, you think?" And she said, "Basically, the reason you're here is because your caseworker decided she didn't like you."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, that's interesting," because she told me to my face that she thought I was awesome, and actually even made a comment that she couldn't wait till this was over because she wanted to take some kickboxing sessions with me.
Did you have a trial, or did you plead no contest? Because there's really no basis for juvenile court jurisdiction in what you've told me so far.
To be honest, and I feel just dumb not knowing, but I just listened to what my attorney had to say, and she said that let's get through this. And I didn't know what I was supposed to plead. I wasn't even able to talk in court. The quote unquote attorney I was assigned to spoke for me. It went really fast, and she said that for the next month or so that people would be coming to my house, and by the next court date, we should have this dropped.
Well, did you know? Did you know that you pled no contest, admitting to the child abuse or risk of child abuse, or you had a trial and you lost? One of those two things happened. Did you know that?
No. I did. No, yeah, I did not know that. I didn't even know at the time what I was being charged for, and actually wasn't even until a month later, one of the several workers told me that I was being charged for neglect, and I did not know that. It was not. I was never told that.
Yeah, based upon.
And I said, well, what do you have that based off of? An anonymous caller state, what facts do they have?
Right.
They said, well, they've seen your kids walking the dog outside alone. I said, well, I can see them. That doesn't mean I'm not home.
Right.
I'm knocked on my door.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes, sir.
We got to take another break real quick. I just want to tell you, you should not be in the juvenile court system if what you've told me is everything that they have.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And that's why I just kept listening to the people, including the first worker, stating that she was so sorry this happened to me, yet she turned around and twisted my words. She said that I did not allow her in my home. She said I refused to take a drug test. She completely lied.
Okay. Look, Sarah, what I'd like you to do is call me on Monday. I'd like to review your case for possible civil rights violations and perhaps bringing a case for you in federal court. We have to take our next break right now. Sarah, thank you for calling and keep listening. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. Okay, this is Attorney Vince Davis. This is The Secret, How to Fight Child Protective Services and Win. And let me say hello to some people on the Facebook Live feed. Hi, Nanette. Hi, Karina. All right, let's take our next call from Cher somewhere in Northern California. Cher, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
I have a question to ask. That I want to thank you for the good work that you do. You help a lot of people. It's very generous of you and kind.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. I was wondering, can we file a 388 to the court for a change of circumstances for the circumstance that the foster father and my grandkids' home they're in just passed away about 2 weeks ago? And
yes.
Also, they won't let us see the kids, and my in-laws were in the process of getting the kids placed in their home when the coronavirus, broke out.
Mm-hmm.
And they're healthy, and they stay at home, and nobody comes to their home. So I was thinking, can we file a 388 to get changes that they can get the kids placed with them?
The answer is yes.
Okay, so the court does have to accept 388 right now at this time.
Yes, but here's the thing. What county are you in?
Amador County.
Okay, here's the thing. And I spoke to a woman earlier in the show about this and about filing a 388. A lot of people think that since the form's online, they can just fill out the form and turn it in and they're going to win. That's not the case. Along with that form that you fill out, that's fairly self-explanatory, you have to file some legal points and authorities, and you have to file evidence, declarations that don't contain hearsay. Okay, and they're relevant, and they're admissible. And you need to present other types of evidence, reports, pictures, videos. So please don't try to file the 388 on your own. Find a lawyer in your area and ask him or her to help you.
Would a paralegal be appropriate?
No, not at all. There are very few, if any, paralegals that are experienced in juvenile dependency law. All right?
Okay.
There are very few lawyers, for that matter,
so
statewide.
When you're saying that you have to be detailed and specific about certain connections with the children and like proof of, like you said, photos and stuff. So photos of what, the children or?
Well, share. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
If the doctor told you, hey, Cher, you need open heart surgery, are you going to
Yeah.
Google it and try to do it yourself?
Absolutely not.
You'll end up dead on the table, right?
Okay.
Okay. The reason why is because you don't have the knowledge, training, experience, or the tools to do that open heart surgery. Now, okay, do you have the knowledge, training, experience, and the tools to file a 388 petition?
I don't.
Right.
I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to find somebody to help me with that.
Well, you're not looking hard enough.
Oh, believe me, I've been looking hard.
Okay,
the
listen.
money situation's the problem.
Right. You're probably going to have one shot at this. You have to get it right. Now, how many kids are involved?
2.
Okay. So if these kids mean everything to you, which I think that they do,
Mm-hmm.
you got to find somebody that's going to help you. You're not going to be able to do it by yourself. Because when you do it by yourself and you lose, you're going to scratch your head and say, oh, the system's unfair. And generally, that's not true. System's fair. You just don't know the rules.
Yeah, that's right.
So what
Some
you
kind
think,
of unfair advantage, yeah.
what you think is justice, generally you're 95% wrong and 5% right. It's not what you think justice is. Everybody's sense of justice is different. Everybody's. That's why we have laws.
Yeah. Okay, I gotcha. So I got one shot. Get somebody that can do it right. It's my only chance. One shot at it.
Is your best chance, yes.
Yes. Okay, I have another question if you don't mind.
Sure.
With the Family First Act, Safety Act, when do counties have to implement that completely?
I thought it was already implemented.
Well, the county up here, they've got another 4 years or whatever to put their resources that way. So I'm fighting with my son for his children, and it's been a frustrating battle because I've read all the laws about the Family First and what's supposed to be going on and the Kinship Navigator program, and our county doesn't have any of those in place.
Okay.
And I've asked them about them at the CFT meetings, and they don't know nothing enough. I feel like, I mean, if I can learn all this stuff, which I've been doing for the last year, going through this, why don't they know it, and why aren't they implementing this? Because my son would be in a different position if this was like, say, 2 years at the head compared to now.
You know, I don't live or practice regularly in Amador County, so I couldn't answer that question. But you don't need that Family First law in order to get the grandkids placed with you, a relative, or one of the parents.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, my hell has already been done. I've been torn up the last year, and so I got pretty thick skin. I'm never going to give up. But I just don't want nobody else to go through this ever. And if they're supposed to be doing something for the families and to preserve it, then they should, gosh darn, do it. You know, like today. So I'm not thinking about me anymore because I'm living through it. But I'm really worried about the future of other families and small children and all these kids and fall. It's just sad. A lot of it's unnecessary.
Can I give you some advice which you might think is harsh?
No, I don't think it's harsh.
Okay.
Please do.
I want you to focus on getting your grandchildren. Don't worry about other families in the system. Once you get your grandchildren, then you can start worrying about other people.
Amen.
Keep your eyes on the prize.
Thank you. I needed that.
Okay.
But I just feel so helpless, and I need to do something every day to make it feel like I'm doing something, even though I can't do nothing, and just playing the waiting game, you know?
Right.
And they're calling all the shots, and they change the rules every other week.
Well, that's because you don't know the law.
Well, I'm learning it now, but...
You know, I talk to attorneys, Cher, all the time. They call me up and ask me questions. Experienced attorneys don't know all the law. So if they get lost, you don't have a chance.
Yeah, especially the way I come across sometimes. Doesn't do me any good in the court.
Well, this is what I want you to do. Look, Cher, because this is not going to work unless somebody helps you, and apparently you can't find anyone. Call me on Monday or Tuesday. Try Tuesday. All right?
Okay.
I'll talk to you
that.
more in detail about the case. All right? And
Thank you very much.
And I'll give you some pointers.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes, you're doing a wonderful thing. Thank you so much.
You know, I have a question, Cher. How did you hear about the radio show all the way up in Amador County?
I learned it from a podcast on my phone from the internet because I was just doing so much research with dependency and trying to learn it because I knew nothing a year ago.
Right.
I was just totally ignorant. And so I came across your the secret book and your website, and then I seen you had a radio station. And then I called, about maybe 9 months ago, and you talked to me about a few things. And I've just been listening to you ever since and learning a lot and rooting for you, and that's it.
Well, thank you, Cher. You know, one of the things I want you to Google, it's called the Dependency Dog Book, D-O-G.
Oh, the dog watch, yes.
Okay. You can download that free on the internet.
You know, it's really strange you mentioned that because my grandkid's lawyer, which is court appointed, of course, he's not doing any of the things that book, the Dog Watch catalog online.
Right, and that's why you need to get an attorney to help represent you in court. Okay? Cher,
Okay,
I want to thank you for calling in and keep listening, okay?
I'm sorry about Terry.
Yes, thank you very much.
I was sad to hear that. Okay, thank you, Vincent.
Thank you. Okay, that was Cher. We have 1 minute to go. You know, I want to remind everyone, especially in California, where judges, state judges, and juvenile judges are elected or appointed by the governor. And if they're appointed, they have to face re-election every, I think it's 4 or 6 years, something like that. Listen, if you don't like a judge, what a judge is doing, you can get together and vote him or her out. You just have to organize. Also, if you don't like the juvenile dependency laws, vote for new state legislators and make this a priority. All right, that's the end of the show tonight. I want to announce that next week the show will be on at 7 p.m. and it will go to 9 p.m. We're extending and expanding the show. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week on the radio.